Welcome to the Chamberlain podcast. My name is Dane and I'm your host. This is the official podcast of the Chamberlain Movember Challenge. Co-hosting with me today is the Movember legend himself, Mark Kelly.
What's up, man?
Today we have another guest that's not linked to our Movember campaign, but is rocking a moustache right now.
Yeah, he rocks it 24/7, I believe, year
It's
round.
true. Yeah,
How long now?
This has been growing since I was 21.
That is impressive.
And it finally
It's not
came
that
in.
impressive, but I thank you.
Well, the time, how old are you?
29.
That is still impressive. 8 years.
I suppose
It's coming.
We should introduce the voice you're not familiar with right now. He's the owner of Ghetto Movement in Wollongong. He's a local expert on yoga, mobility, mindset and meditation. He is a husband and a father, and he is Will Grant. God, I cooked that.
Quite the rap sheet.
Yeah. His name's Will Grant. Welcome to the show. Thank you for
having
coming.
me on, boys. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
So normally, just to start off, we'll get you to do an intro on who you are and where you've come from. Go as far back as you want.
And you're not allowed to say just what he said. Like this.
Yeah, you can't copy Mark.
Yeah, no, look, I'd definitely edit out the master of any of those things. I'm a bit of a hack. So my name's Will. I run a little business in town called Ghetto Movement. You guys have heard. We're just a gym. We do a lot of mobility, gymnastics, strength training. We sort of focus a lot on mental health in recent times as well. We do a little bit of ice bath, cold therapy, some mindfulness and breath work. Yeah, that's pretty much the business. My personal journey, I grew up in Bega, which is a couple of hours down the coast, small country town. Went through high school down there, moved up here to play footy, would you believe? Thought I was going to crack the big time, but lucky I wasn't. Otherwise, I'd probably be Todd Carney or Ben Barber.
Yeah. He'd definitely be in the public space for a different reason.
The riffraff.
So it was AFL, wasn't it?
Rugby league.
Oh, it was rugby league.
Yeah, I
Okay.
played AFL a couple of years ago, and then that was the last physical, team sport that I played before I entered early retirement.
Yeah.
I am an electrician by trade. And
Great trade.
It is a great trade.
Yeah.
It's definitely the trade that you want to pick if you're going to do any. You can hide anywhere. And yeah, I think a big part of my journey is what I'm really trying to push forward with my direction now, is that I wasn't super unhappy with being a Sparky. Like, I enjoyed it. I still love doing a little bit of work here and there. Love the banter. Love being around the boys. And it's good skills to have. Like, I do enjoy fixing stuff and like having to think in that practical sense. But I showing up week in, week out to a job site was just grinding me down. Like, you've got people that have been in the trade for like 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Been doing the same thing for that long. And like, no one looks at you. Everyone's looking at the ground. Everyone's kicking stones. They're all whinging and bitching about something. Like, nothing ever goes right on a job site, right?
Yeah.
And everyone's just got the same problems every week. And I was like, this is not going to be me for the rest of my life. I won't do it.
Yeah, I've found that as well, coming from a trade background. Yeah, there are some people like, you have been complaining, like at my company, there's a guy, I've been losing my job for 10 years. And comes in like, they're going to kick us all out. They're going to start again. 10 years. He's still here.
Yeah. He's
So
still
positive.
Got 13 weeks annual leave on service.
Loves his job.
Yeah.
And it's that, and like, it's not a good generalization to throw on people, but they're stuck.
Yeah.
And it was a horrible, like, in that sense of things, it was a horrible place to be. Like, I didn't enjoy it. I found myself, and I still do it every now and then. Like, my wife knows when I go to work on the tools, because I come home and I talk differently. I'm condescending, and I'm like, I swear a lot more.
Really?
Yeah, it catches on quickly again.
Just fall back into the habit sort of
Just
thing.
massively, yeah. And it's like my voice drops an octave, so I sound more manly. And like, it's actually quite comical the way it comes over you, even like after a day on the tools. But yeah, just the way the boys, like, and most of it's banter, but stuff gets personal, and like, it's a pretty toxic environment when I think back on it. And so I was having a little bit of trouble with my shoulders and some injuries back then, playing footy and drinking and partying a lot, and the body just wasn't keeping up. I had like 15 dislocations and a ruptured pec, so I ended up having both shoulders operated on. I had 3 major ops in, I think, 4 years. And so I started doing a little bit of yoga, and I started practicing. I started like uploading videos on Instagram, like, because I thought it was cool. And then a mate's mum was partnered in with a yoga studio, and she was like, "Oh, do you want to come teach some classes for us?" I was like, "Well, I'm not qualified, but yeah, I definitely will." And my first class was horrible. Like, I was so nervous that, like, you go in with a class plan, and I was so nervous that I wouldn't look at it. Like, I was like just staring blankly at everyone looking at me, and I was like, just look at the sheet of paper with all the poses on it.
We're going to do crow pose for the third time this class.
It's like, all right, guys, now take your 900th breath. and
breathe.
And now lay back in Shavasana. We're done.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I started teaching yoga. It was just by pure chance, and like I took up an opportunity to do it. Then I did my yoga teacher training, and I started teaching more often. The more I dived into yoga, the more I was getting exposed to stuff like CrossFit and gymnastics. And I've sort of transitioned, not out of yoga, but I don't teach much of it anymore. I do still do a lot of breath work, which I thoroughly enjoy. But the yoga practice, we've just had a bit of a stagnant process because I've been so concentrated on handstands and variations of like gymnastic strength work that it's kind of taken a backward seat. So I've naturally sort of evolved into a different style of teacher. But we've still got amazing teachers at Ghetto, which have made my transition out of that really easy. It's always the hardest thing about when you do own a business like that, that people sort of associate you with the brand. So when you get someone that comes in and they give like equally as good a product, if not better, it's easy to sort of step away and let that happen. But yeah, that's sort of my my journey into where we're at now. And yeah. Married, kid.
Yeah.
Also
we'll
coming
add
to
that on the
You're actually our first guest who's a dad on the show,
Hey,
so we're good
nice.
to get some input on
First
that.
Father's Day for you yesterday
Yeah,
as
it's
well.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
happy
good.
Father's Day to you both.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I have a dog, but that doesn't count. The people that say
Depends
it
who you
does
ask,
are liars.
Definitely depends who you ask.
Yeah.
So how did you get introduced? So you've hurt your shoulder, and yoga was like a way to kind of recover a bit. How was it introduced to you?
Like, how did I discover yoga?
Yeah,
I actually had a crush on a girl.
Nice.
So I started doing yoga. I really liked this girl, and she was a mad yogi. And she was like, "Oh, you should come to class. I could be really good for you." And this was just pre like messing up my shoulders like for good before I knew that I had to quit sport. And I noticed that like everything just started getting progressively better. Like my balance was better. I had a stronger center of gravity. My lifts were all getting bigger, like throwing the barbell around. And I was like, there might be something to this.
Yeah. And not only that, like mentally as well, you're like, I feel a bit more at peace with things.
Exactly. and like, but I mean, it's hard too because I started doing it when I was like 22, 23.
Yeah.
And it's very hard for a 22 or 23-year-old young man especially to shelf the ego with that stuff. And like all the benefits that were coming with it were feeding it more and more.
Yeah.
Which is like the bit of irony that is yoga. Like it's great for me mentally and physically, but it's also a bit poisonous too because I'm putting up these photos and videos on Instagram for the like factory.
Yeah.
And for a little while it was just about that. Like I'll be completely honest. Like it was like, oh, people are enjoying watching a young man that, parties and lives this like completely contradicted lifestyle.
Yeah.
But, it's getting a lot of attention and, it sort of fed the fire.
I was kind of the same, like, you guys know the dumb crap that I post on social media back in the day. That was all for like, those likes were like addictive. Like,
yeah,
I've
exactly.
got to put it out.
And it's like, and that's like social media to a T, right? Like at the end of the day, it is a vanity thing. Like, people say you can put up content, but I guarantee you they're still looking to see how many likes came up. And all that stuff.
Yeah, they've like removed the like feature in Instagram, which I think is awesome.
Oh man,
yeah,
that makes business life so much easier. Like, because that's the one thing that does get me down. I'm like, why do I put up this amazing piece of content that's like super informative and like helps people move better and wrap their head around certain things? It gets 10 likes, and then I can put up like someone in the gym doing like this crazy ass move that has one word under it and it gets like 200 likes.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Come on, world. Like the value.
Yeah.
Like the value.
It's the same with like, the more like beauty influencers, like the bikini gets the likes, but then like this delicious breakfast I did, or even probably them doing a post about mental health probably wouldn't get as much.
Yeah, and it's sad though. But I mean, it's the world we live in, and you've got to like play with the tools that you've been given. And
Swim
I think
with the currents.
Yeah. And it's been a learning experience for me, especially because like I said, like early on, it was all about like put this up, put that up. Make people think that you're living this lifestyle and like that you're doing all these great things for, the good of your heart.
Yeah.
And like, again, pure honesty, it was all for vanity. It was all for the likes. It was all for, conversation topic. It was all that kind of like real toxicity of social media.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess it was probably around like midway through meeting my wife, Emma, that it all just became like a bit shit, and like it was too much of an effort. And she was the same. Like she used to love putting a lot of photos and stuff up. And now it's like most of her Instagram's just our son. Just nonstop.
He's a cute kid. It's worth sharing.
And mine sort of turned into a bit of a platform where I don't know. I try to share as much of a balance of my life as I can, mostly because I do have a lot going on, and it's a life that I've chosen. But I also think it's important for people to see the struggles that come with it all, like owning a small business, having a small family, trying to push myself down this elite training sort of regime as well.
Yeah.
So I like people to see the rawness and the shitness that comes with all of that. So
more of a reality side than just the fluffy golden good times.
Instead of the highlight reel that Insta can be. So
and for the listeners at home, like Will is a very, very handsome man, and he's got a sweet rig. But you're one of those people that actually like really is honest about like you've got to put in work to like achieve 100%. That kind of stuff, and it's the same with mental health. You've got to put in the work. So you've meditation, breath work, mindset work. When did that kind of start playing into your career path, I guess?
I think it came on around the same time as yoga, but I was fortunate enough to bump into a dude right before I had my second shoulder reco, and he was saying that there'd been studies done on how people can like focus and like heal themselves on a quicker process by meditating and like being quite visual with the whole process of like healing an injury. So leading up to my last surgery, I really dived quite deeply into meditation.
That's fascinating. I've recently seen a few like things on Instagram and YouTube about that, and I'm really interested in how that works.
Well, I mean, I can't think of the dude's name for the life of me right now. And this was like in the 70s, and this dude shattered his spine. And the doctors told him, they're like, look, we can do this operation, but there's like a 3% chance that you're going to be able to move your body again. Wow. And he was like, I don't want the surgery anyway. Don't worry about it. And he laid in a bed face down for 12 weeks, and he mentally rebuilt his spine.
That is
like
crazy.
The nerve pathways, the bone structure, everything, the muscles around it. And I could be wrong on the timeline here, but I think in 12 weeks, he was back walking and in the gym, like doing super light rehab work.
How is that explained? Like after, like especially back then, like technology and it wasn't as advanced as it is now.
It's just a mindset. Like
it's incredible
the way people can operate and do certain things. Like, and it's a manifestation too, right? Like everyone's had that experience. Like you've thought about something so much and on so many different levels, and then it's actually played out, and you're like, whoa,
did I make that happen?
Yeah, but you did though. Like, and that's the thing. And if you can concentrate, like, and for most people, like anyone listening now, like put out your foot in front of you and try and move your toes separately. Like it's the hardest thing to do, but we just don't have that mind muscle connection because we're so disconnected from our bodies.
Yeah, right. Can you do it? Just
I'm getting there. Like I've just been able to recently separate my toes more than my hands, and I can sort of just get a little bit of dexterity there.
That's good.
So that's something I've been working on because it's something that's been highlighted that was a deficiency for me with my movement.
Yeah.
And strong feet mean you're balanced and you have a lot of coordination. So it's something that I've like added in, and that I don't wear shoes or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's like my wife hates it, but it's the life I've chosen.
Yeah, that's it. And you have a better connection to the earth than most people.
But it's little stuff like that, Dane, and like where it comes from is like, and I'm not saying that I'm a master of it because otherwise I'd never get injured. But if you can focus on one thing within your body and like really picture it perfectly, and you can feel the healing and you can see the healing, and then, your body starts to follow. Your brain will make it happen because it's a powerful thing. The capabilities of a human mind is like, it's untapped.
Yeah, what do they say? We use 10% of our brain or something like that?
Something horrendous like that. Like, and that's the thing. Like, if you really truly, if you've got, like, if you imagine, like, we think about it now. If someone said to us, rebuild your spine, you'd be like, woof, put that in the too hard basket. To that. But if
as traders would say, it's not a 5-minute job.
Yeah. But if you get given the option of never moving off that bed again, you're probably going to pull your finger out of your ass and have a crack. You know what I mean? Like it's excruciating, probably not the right word, extenuating extenuating circumstances. Circumstances, thank you for finishing that off for me. Baby brain. It's a real thing. But it's like, if you get put in that position, you don't know what you're capable of until you're pushed into the corner, right? And that's the thing, is like, we're all much more capable of what we do on a day to day. We recently went on a retreat to Bali, and my mum reached out probably 2 months before the retreat, and she said, I really think I need a trip away. Can I come on the retreat? And I said, Mum, it's going to be really intense. It's training, mindset, all these things. Let me have a think about it. And then tragically, one of my friends lost her mum pretty shortly after Mum asked. And as soon as that happened, I was like, I need to spend more time with my mum. It doesn't matter what happens. Like, she's going to get a lot out of this. And mum's struggled to come back from, she had a pretty bad bout of cancer when I was 16. So I think she's almost 13 or 14 years in remission now.
Oh, wow.
So she's doing really well, but she's really struggled to get like the bone density and her strength and stuff back. But she's been the most consistent I've seen her, and she's doing really well. But while we were away on about day 3, she came up to me and she said, wow, I'm so much better than I thought I was.
That's cool.
And that to me is like the epitome of everything we do. Because up until then, Mum sees exactly what I do at the gym, and she's like, oh, I'd never be able to do anything like that. I wouldn't be able to get in the ice bath. I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah.
So not only was she jumping up and doing handstands and, playing with all this stuff, like playing on the gymnastics rings, she told me at the start of the week there was no way she'd get in the ice bath. She got in the first time, and it was like a really hard experience for her. Like, it was really difficult. And then she was hesitant to get in the second time. Yeah. And then after her second one of the other girls was struggling, and she jumped in with her, held her hands, and was like, if I can do it, you can. Wow. And she sat in the bath for another 3 minutes with this girl, and like completely like leveled me. Like, to see the transition from there's no fucking way you're getting me in that tub to jumping back in to hold someone else's hand while they struggle through it.
Yeah.
And like, that to me is just the mindset, right? So if you get exposed to these things more often, if you're around the right people, anything's possible.
Yeah.
But if you stay in the circle that you're in where everyone's like, oh, fuck, did you see how good that thing was? Oh, I'd never be able to do that. And they're like, yeah, nah, me either.
Yeah.
If you're around that all the time, then you tell yourself that story, and you're not going to do it. You're not going to be rebuilding spines with your mind. That's the extreme. So that's the extreme. But, you're not going to be able to do these things if you keep telling yourself you can't.
Yeah. I reckon that my favorite like fitness sessions are with people that like are a bit better than me, because it is that motivation of like, okay, he can do it. I can get there, or at least kind of work towards that. With pressure builds diamonds, guys.
Oh, that's another t-shirt.
Get that on a tee. But it's so true though. And like, it's the old cliche sayings, like if you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, there's a reason we all graduate through school. It's like, because you reach a level, you have to go up. And it's something that I'm very conscious of. And, with training, with mindset and everything like that, I always, like, I'm never the best at anything that I do. I'm always trying to put myself in a circumstance where someone's better and someone's schooling me.
Yeah.
Because
always learning.
Yeah, exactly. Because you see someone do something and it's like, all right, well, if it's possible there, why isn't it possible for me? And it makes you dissect things a little bit deeper. That comes to like, even with the mental health side of things. And it's not so much on the competitive sense when you want to be better at mental health. It's more in the sense that I want to be more open with what's happening internally for me. I want to share more. I want to have more conversations where people can feel safe to say certain things. And I think that's been a big driver for us in the last little while. Like, we've been running the men's sheds and stuff like that.
I saw that.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting that people are so reluctant to share until you say something or you share something first, or like someone in the group will say something and then all of a sudden it just opens the floodgates for everyone else to go, oh yeah, me too.
Well, funnily enough, because I went to Will's men's shed in November, or it would have been December, I think.
Yeah.
And I went through like a massive life change end of last year, and I'm always pretty open about my mental health and stuff. And I went to the men's shed. I knew Will, I knew another guy there, but I didn't really know anyone else. and I was like the second person to speak, and I was like, "Oh, hey, I'm Mark. I'm just here to like kind of get a little better." And then the room went around, and it was kind of like infectious. Like other people, as the room went around, people started sharing more and more. And then by that time, I kind of had to go, actually, I'm kind of going through some stuff.
I have more to say.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that it's like when you're in an environment where that's okay, then it's exactly that. Like it's all right to say that you're struggling. It's all right to cry. It's all right to be angry. It's all right to be shitty.
Yeah.
You know, there's a room full of people there that want to help you out. And I'm sort of lucky enough that, you know, I have a few people like that in my life. And like the number one's my dad. Like Dad's always been a pretty open book with how he talks about things and how he shares things, and like not bottling things up and controlling the controllables, and, you know, logically dealing with everything else that's happening around those.
So that's not common though. That it's
Not at
so rare to have, I guess, a male role model in that age bracket. I'm assuming your dad's
Tradie,
Yeah.
runs his own business, mechanic by trade, is bobcat driver and everything now. Grew up on a dairy farm in the middle of bum fucking nowhere.
See, it's rare to have someone that's open with communication, doesn't bottle things up in that age bracket, in that work field. So I guess that is one spot that you've come from, because given you're 29, footy background, Sparky, your mindset and the way you talk, it sounds like you're this 40-year-old, well-studied.
I look 40.
Dude, it's so impressive. And I'm just trying to think, like, was there something, I'm not fishing for an answer, but was there something that happened that just sort of made you think, I've got to change the way I am, or I don't want to be this way anymore? Or was it just like, just the way you are? Is it like a chemical?
I think there's obviously a bit of biochemistry makeup in everyone that sort of creates who they are. I definitely saying everything I've said, like I've definitely had some really shit stuff happen in my life. But I think my parents have sculpted us to be the kind of people that in adversity, you know, we're not sort of like, woe is me. It's, you know, we find what we need to do and we push through that. Like mum and dad, like I'd probably prefer to tell you a little bit more about them. Like they had a stillborn as their first baby.
Right.
So I think mum would have only been 21. And so mum was 40 weeks, and on her due date, she like felt something change. And then she went to the doctor, the heartbeat had stopped. And so she had to give birth to a dead baby essentially.
Yeah.
And like, and you can understand that now as well, like how gut wrenching that would be. Like
I couldn't imagine that. Like that would break your heart.
Yeah. And, but you know, I've never heard my mum and dad like wonder why it happened to them. They've always been like, well, this was just our path. This is teaching us this. And like they were 21.
That's nuts.
Like they weren't like, I'm 29 and I've just had my first baby. Like they were 21.
Yeah,
they're children themselves. Like if you compare them to 21-year-olds now, they wouldn't be close to that stage.
They would never deal with
life,
let alone give life.
Oh gosh.
Like,
yeah.
And like it astounds me that was their mentality. And, you know, dad was sweet, and it didn't stop them from trying again. And they had my sister first, and then I think they had a miscarriage, and then me. And then I think they might have had 2 miscarriages, and then my brother. Oh my God. So like their process to have the 3 of us was quite, you know, hectic, and, you know, but it's like you talk to them about it and it's fine. It was their path, and that's how they do. Like, I swear to God, my dad was like a Shalom monk.
Yeah, it sounds it.
Back in the day.
It tells you this story about growing up on a farm or something. I'm not.
Yeah, he like some of the stuff that has happened. And then I mentioned earlier, my mum got quite sick. Like the doctors gave her 4 months. And this is when I was 16 and my sister was 18 doing a HSC. So it was a pretty rough time. And it got to dad quite a bit, but my sister really stepped up. My sister's like this 4-foot blonde garden gnome. It's just like, she's the powerhouse of the family. Like she's got really broad shoulders, and you know, she played mum, did a HSC and did really well, and like just crushed everything. You know, never broke down. Like that was a pretty shitty period for me. Like I had another friend who ended up losing his mum at the same time, and we were sort of hanging out a lot and acting out, being 16 and boys. You know, we played up a fair bit and lashed out, but you my sister pulled me back into line, and, she's like, look, mum's going to be okay, trying to reassure me and all of that kind of stuff. And it ended up that, it was a rough couple of years, but mum pulled through and like whooped it.
Yeah,
It was,
I can relate to that. So my mum had breast cancer twice, once when I was in high school, and I was very similar. Like, I did not handle it. Dad did. My other brothers were okay. They were younger than me, but I shut it all off. Like, everything, I was just like, and it didn't even get to a point where like mum might die. She was okay as far as we were concerned. There was never like that conversation where she might not make it. But I was like, nah, I'm not dealing with it. Like, I shut everything off. I didn't even go and see her at the hospital until the day before she left. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't handle it.
Yeah,
but like,
I was the same. I couldn't actually go to the hospital. It killed me.
And looking back now, like, she got breast cancer again, and I would have been maybe 20 the second time round. Total flip. I was like, no, I've got to do everything I can. I've got to make up for the first time. Like, I was taking her to chemo and stuff like that. I was having time off work when I could, but to compare myself when I was in high school and later on, I was two different people.
Yeah. And it's just growing up,
Yeah,
right? Like,
that's crazy.
and that's what happens with adversity. Like, we learn from our response, and then next time around, you can react and adapt.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. And like, yeah, and that was just another thing that happened. And like, just the way that like the family pulled together, I don't think it was really an option to cry and like not keep moving forward with everything. Like, obviously we were quite upset, and it was a pretty traumatic time. Like, my brother, I think, handled it the funniest. He straight up asked mum the first time we went and visited her at the hospital and was like, are you going to die? And he was like 14, and she's like, no, I'm going to be sweet. And that was enough for him. Like, hearing her say that was completely
Like,
enough.
cool, mum's going to be fine.
He came up to
Mum
me and
knows best.
he came up to me and my sister, like, when like shit was getting pretty bad, and Emma and I were in the kitchen quite upset. He's just like, I feel really bad, guys. I'm like, what's wrong, bro? You all right? And he's like, I haven't cried yet. And I'm like, what? I'm like a blubbering mess, like Niagara Falls coming out my eyes. And he's like, yeah, mum told me she's going to be all right, so I believed her. And he's just like, I haven't cried.
It's like innocent. Like, yeah, cool, mum's going to be fine.
He's like, yeah, it's sweet.
I've had those feelings as well when there's been something and I just haven't reacted with tears, and I've felt weird that I'm not crying about this. I'm
Try
like,
and
is there
force a
something
couple
wrong
out.
with me? I'm like, no, I have feelings. They just express in different ways. And like you said, he was just using positive mindset.
Yeah.
He was like, this is fine. And
Yeah.
I'm glad he had it because it worked out well.
So funny,
he didn't waste any tears.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, saved him up.
Yeah. So for someone, like Dane here, he's never really tried meditation or anything like that. He's a blank canvas for you. Are there anything you could recommend to like get you to get someone to take that step? To
Definitely.
Because for me, I do it and I can't recommend it enough. But I have trouble explaining to other people like how they should get into a why, because it's just, look, it makes me feel good. It's just something part of my day.
There's a really funny podcast called, it's not funny, it's quite factual actually. It's called Science Versus, and it sums up meditation like the best way I've ever heard it summed up. So they go through and like fact find everything on meditation, if it's beneficial and everything. And at the end of the podcast, they're like, look, all the scientists can prove is that sitting in the quiet is beneficial somehow, because there's no way of tracking what people think about. So like,
That's it.
If you can take the stigma away or the pressure away from having to be sound of mind, then you can take the pressure out of sitting and breathing. And all it is if you can sit down and you can count 10 breaths, that's meditation.
Really?
Yeah. Simple as that. And it's just slowing everything down. So there's in Eastern culture, it's like, I can't think of the actual religion or subgroup that it is that has put this out, but it takes 6 slow breaths to reset your physiology. So no matter how you are in a physical state, if you can stop and take 6 slow as you can breaths, it will completely reset your physiology, and like your nervous system will calm down and you'll come back to more of a neutral state.
I guarantee I'm trying that as soon as we're finished.
Yeah, and that's where I'll start.
Wow.
Yeah. So just count your breath. Count your breath in. Count your breath out.
Don't do it on it. It'll be very boring content if you're doing it on the podcast.
I'll save that.
Sound like it was a breeze. Just
later.
No, I've found at work when things are getting a little flustered to just walk away for a second and 10 deep breaths, and I've found you do come in. All right. Okay, what is the problem? 2 minutes of your day isn't going to ruin anything.
Yeah. And I mean, to start with, like everyone tries to just sit, get their hands up and be super like Zen.
Yeah.
There's like I do breath work every day. And I say breath work, not meditation, just because like that's what I concentrate on. I concentrate on my breath, and that's what takes me deeper. So I do meditate, and I do often visualize certain things.
I kind of like the terminology breath work as well, because like meditation has that connotation, like tune out your mind, like it's all silent. Like I remember the first times I was meditating, like, oh, now I'm thinking about not thinking. Is that technically thinking? I'm panicking here. I'm so bad at meditation.
And that's the thing, though, right?
But even then, like after a while, down this app, One Giant Mind, which I've talked, and they do like a bit of a coaching one, and they're like, look, every meditation's different. Sometimes you can just be flustered as fuck and you have all these weird scenarios go through your head, but at the end, like the bell goes, and you're like, all right, well, I did it. Yeah. It didn't feel good, but I did it.
The best thing you can do is just start.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing is like, if you spend too much time thinking about, am I doing it right? Wait, is this the correct thing? Wait, I shouldn't be thinking about this. Fuck, I didn't do the groceries. Oh man, I forgot to change the baby's nappy. Like, shit, did I lock the door? Did I put the oven on?
Is the baby still in the car?
This is normal. This is so normal to do. Yeah. Like, you can't silence your thoughts. Like, you can't go from Joe Blow to, lifetime monk in a day. You can't even do it in probably 10 years. Yeah. Like, I've been doing it consistently for maybe like 3 or 4 years now. And I still have days where I sit down and I'm like, lizard brain is just going nuts. Like, all these things are happening, and I talk myself into things, and I start to feel anxious. And I'm like, hang on a minute, I sat down to meditate. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, I'm going on stress leave now.
But the thing is that I notice these things happening now. And that's the tool that you take away.
Experience. So it comes with experience. Like you said, you start simple and just learn.
And now it's just like, all right, shit, I need to calm the fuck down. Let's have 6 breaths, or I do a round of Wim Hof breath. Or if I'm really struggling, 2 rounds, and that brings me into a nice space.
What's Wim Hof breath?
So I'll again, this should be something we'll link in the notes. Is Wim Hof is a cat from the Netherlands, and he's the guy that does like the cold therapy, and he's got a breath thing that goes with that as well. So they're currently rewriting textbooks on this dude because the autoimmune system apparently is not so auto. He's discovered that you can tap into that through breath. And you can, cold therapy and breath, and you can get your immune system cranking up without it having to like auto kick in.
Just do it yourself. Wow.
Yeah. So he's
like swum like in cold oceans in like speedos and stuff.
He set a world record because he swam in a glacier, or like in a frozen lake, and he went in and his retinas froze over, so he couldn't see. And so he swam past the hole that he was supposed to come up, and then had to double back and swim up. Yeah.
Retinas froze over. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So he couldn't see. But he's a machine.
I'll be doing some research on Wim Hof as well.
Yeah, definitely jump in. So I implore everyone that's listening and watching to do the same. He's quick little background on him. His wife committed suicide. She had schizophrenia, and he turned to like isolating himself in the cold and his breath work, and then he realized how powerful it was, and he went and got tested, and the scientists were like, no, you're a one-off. And then so he took 6 people with him, and they had another 6 people that came in, and they were injected with, I always say the wrong thing, what's E. coli? Is that a virus?
Yeah.
Sure.
E. coli? I've said Ebola in the past, and everyone's like, what?
That's
not Ebola.
They were injected with a virus.
Yeah, so they
I think you can catch a coli.
So they injected 12 patients with a virus, and the 6 Wim Hof people, through breath work and everything, were able to beat the virus, and the other 6 got a little bit ill.
Yeah, right.
They just got sick.
They got ill. But yeah, so he's a pretty interesting cat. So if anyone gets a chance to look him up, we base a lot of our stuff around his philosophy and methods. Wow, he's real cool dude.
Yeah. At what point did you? I guess I'm assuming that Ghetto Movement came from you basically doing things that you wanted to do to fix yourself.
Yes.
At what point did you think I need to offer this to more people?
That's a really good question.
Because it's very specific. From what I've heard, there's not a lot of people offering what you do or doing what you do?
No, it's definitely a niche market at the moment. I think
It's growing.
It's definitely growing. Sydney's got a few really cool gyms happening. The West Coast is chockers with this stuff.
Yeah?
Perth, it's got like 8 world-class gyms that are like the best of the best.
Wow.
You know, and there's a few places up the coast as well in Australia that are pretty on point with it. But I don't know. It all happened, and it's, you know, such a trendy, manly word for me to say. But it was very organic.
Yeah.
I started training and doing my own stuff. The Instagram was just like a new thing back then, and I was posting videos, and I had mates go, "Oh, can I come train with you?" I had a few mates that were playing high-level footy, and they're like, "Oh, I've seen your mobility stuff. Can we come and do some off-season work with you?" And then it kind of dawned on me. I had a mate that opened a gym, and he's like, "Oh, come do a workshop." I was like,
it just happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Organic is the word. Then.
yeah, and I started renting the Taraji Surf Club a few days a week and teaching stuff there, and then gradually I've just sort of changed spaces, and now we've got our own facility.
Wow.
So
It's an awesome facility too. It's got murals by, you know, Courtney Beaton
Courtney,
did a
Courtney's done
mural
some
in
good
there,
work
and it's
there.
got a basketball hoop, which is handy because I think last time, so Will was kind enough to donate his space last year for our retro step class, and as I'm walking in, I'm pretty sure like the Illawarra Hawks were walking out. And, you know, I'm a pretty tall guy. I don't like other tall people, let alone a head above me.
Yeah, that photo sucked for me. This blows. I'm like at everyone's armpits.
Yeah, anyone like in the Illawarra area who's like interested in this sort of work, yeah, definitely get into it. And I believe you guys are on MindBody as well, the app.
Yes, we're on MindBody, but jump on the gram, check out Ghetto Movement. It's the easiest thing to do. It's where most of our content and stuff
That's
is.
it. And they do really good, like, you know, they're giving out free advice as well. Like they do their, you know, Monday movements and Tuesday tutorials.
That was what I was talking about before. Like that stuff gets zero attention, but it's like all the gold that people should be checking out. And then you put up like a flashy photo of someone doing a backbend. They're like, yes.
That.
Yeah, and you just feel like saying, you know, if you read those other boring posts,
you'd be able to do
that. Stop looking at the finish line.
So true.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the journey of Ghetto, and it's sort of, it just happened. And, you know, I'm the kind of guy that I see something, I'm like, fuck it, why not?
Let's do it. Yeah.
So yeah,
it's unreal.
Jump in head first and hope that I can swim.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're swimming quite well at the moment.
It's doggy paddle.
Yeah.
Doggy paddle. My head's above water, so it's all good.
Have you got plans to expand or anything coming up?
Yeah. So like the plan is that Ghetto becomes a stepping stone for coaches too, like not just for people to come in and increase their movement ability and potential, but for coaches to come in and learn a different way of movement and then start taking classes.
See, that's awesome. Growing the circle,
yeah.
making it wider.
Yeah.
That's
and
unreal.
Long term, I sort of see myself and my business partner, Eamon, opening up a space north for more intensive based things.
Nice.
So retreat style sort of stuff. So it's more educational and we get to work with people on a bit of a deeper level. Because as great as Ghetto is, it's hard for me to have the impact on a person's life that I want to have in that 1 hour that they do come to a class, or if they're coming multiple times a week. It's still just a physical thing. And I feel that my calling is going to be a lot more mindset and lifestyle than just the training side of stuff. So yeah, we definitely have plans to expand down the track and start developing some programs that people can jump onto short or long term, and you know, host some pretty epic events in the future.
Sounds very exciting.
So,
yeah. Some epic events that you know, can also contribute to Movember as well.
Exactly
we'll
right.
Talk.
Get a crowd.
Exactly. I'm always up for a little bit of collab.
Yeah, always.
You mentioned Eamon. Do you want to talk about your podcast?
Yeah, sure. If anyone's interested and got the time to listen to a poorly edited podcast.
Well, they took the time to listen to this one. So
they got this far.
So the podcast is called the Modern Monks Podcast. I think we've got maybe 15 episodes up at the moment. We do have plans to do heaps, but you know, life. But yeah, and we would just basically chat about, you know, everything that's happened for us, to us, you know, in every which way, shape and form, the lessons we've taken out of certain things with business, relationships. And, you know, it's just basically like a bit of a recap on who we are, how we came to be, where we're going, and, you know, how we focus our energy towards certain things and why.
It's quite interesting content. So I found it very relatable. So I've listened to a fair few of your podcasts, and like the whole how you talk about on the last podcast we spoke about this, and you reflect on that, and then you go over a story. Like your stories are straight up stories that people are like, yeah, I know, I've done that or I've heard that, and it's I feel like a lot of people would get
there's something to take out.
Yeah, something to take out of the context.
It was like a big part of our philosophy was like we listened to a lot of I used to listen to a lot of Aubrey Marcus and those kind of guys. And I got to the stage of listening and I'm like, this is the same bloody story.
Repeating.
Like, I get it. Like, this is how you come out of this situation. This is why you do this. Like, tell me something different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so a big part of our philosophy was like to relate it back to real life, because people don't want to hear like that you're holier than thou. Like that you've got life figured out and do this and do that, and then look at your life and everything's falling apart. Like, it's like, let's talk.
Real.
Yeah, let's talk about the stuff that's falling apart. Like, why is this happening? How are you feeling about it? Like, what's the story behind that? And if you can add some jest to it, obviously it adds to the comical value.
And there's banter
Yeah,
sprinkled through, which is important.
Exactly. Yeah, a little bit of salt and pepper on top.
I agree with that. It's not about here's how I got through this, challenge. Like, I like people that are talking about the challenges they're going through right now, because one, you could offer some advice, or you could find out like, oh shit, that might work for me actually. I might get on board with that.
And I mean, our podcast, like, did we imagine that we were going to be bigger than Joe Rogan? Yes. Are we? Definitely not. But I was getting a coffee at the kiosk one day, and the dude that served me my coffee is like, oh, I listened to your podcast the other day.
Dude,
and he
that
goes,
would make my day.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
That'd get us
and
pretty
it's the,
hard.
And it's the only time it's happened. It only happened once. Like, but
That's all
that
you
one
need.
time, and the guy was like, I found that really insightful, because, this is also happening in my life, and it's good to know that, a young man's struggling like that as well. And I was like,
Yes.
Nice.
can I have my coffee for free?
Yeah.
He's like, you're not a celebrity,
I'll give you a shout out.
Oh, that's unreal.
But it's, and I mean, but that's the stuff that I would want to listen to. So it's the stuff that I try and put into our content as well. It's the same with teaching and stuff now. Like, what good is it being a teacher if like I've got a one arm handstand in the middle splits, but like that I was just born that way. Like I can't help. You can't help someone that's like, can barely move and can't like kick up to a handstand. Like, it's got to be like a reflection of the story that you've had, right? That you can share back, and that's how people can navigate through. Like, a question I get asked a lot is like, oh, what books have you read? What courses have you done? What shit have you done to like be able to teach this stuff? I'm like, I just study the movement. Like, I say study is a bit of a dickish term when it comes to movement. Like, I train.
Yeah, I did it.
Yeah, I've done the work and I've put in the time. Like, I couldn't tell you how many times I've fallen flat on my face trying to do certain things, and how many times I've thought, fuck, why can I not open my hips? Why can I not do this? Like, I never used to be able to touch my toes, just like most people. And through 4 years of pretty vigorous training, I can touch my head on my toe.
Really?
Yeah.
I can touch I'm up to touching my toes again. Like when I first started yoga, couldn't touch my toes.
But that's the thing. Like, that's point A. Is like everyone wants to be able to touch their toes, and you should be able to touch your toes. And it's just
everyone has that right.
Everyone has that right. Well, I read an interesting thing today, and it was like it was not everyone is born to move or born for movement or something like that, but everyone is born with a brain that allows you the choice.
Yeah.
And it's like, what you do with that choice is completely up to you. And there's no judgment whichever way. Like, if you want to be an expert of whatever or not do anything, like, that's completely your choice. It's your vessel, it's your life. And I think where people fuck up is that they put so much emphasis on the fact that everyone's, I'm doing inverted commas for those that are listening to this on audio, for everyone that's watching them.
Yeah, it's for everyone else. It's not for them.
Exactly. And like, at the end of the day, it's just you. If touching your toes is enough, fucking sweet. Who gives a shit?
And I think it's that intimidation factor when people are trying to try something new. Like, they don't want to look like a fool doing handstands and stuff like that. One of my friends, like when I first started getting back into the gym, he kind of said, it was like, no one's there to look at you. They're all there to look at themselves.
But you think that though.
Yeah, you think they're looking at you because you're glancing that way, but they're not.
Yeah.
There's mirrors everywhere.
Here's the cheat codes for life. Someone that's looking at you that you think is judging you, they think you're judging them.
Yeah, exactly.
Vicious cycle.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing is like that rip dude over by the mirror doing the tricep extension. He's like, he's self-conscious that his tricep's not popping right, and you're judging him for doing the exercise wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas he's over there looking all jacked and shredded, and you're like, shit, where the fuck does this band go on my foot?
Yeah.
Like, He's like, oh, like, but that's the thing is like you're both having these conversations in your head.
Yeah.
And it's not happening at all. It's not the reality. Like no one gives a fuck. It's literally you versus you, and that's all there is to it.
That's
like,
it. You're your own worst enemy or your best friend.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the story that you believe, right? Like if, you can tell yourself the best truth or you can tell yourself the worst lie. And whichever one that you're going to believe is, generally how your path is going to travel.
Yeah. It's like those open and like, was it closed or growth mindsets? And, those people that are like, oh, no, I'll never be able to do a handstand because like I was just born that way or something. They're closed mindsets. But growth mindsets are like, okay, well, put the work in.
It's funny, right? And so in the circle of like guys that I train with online and like interact with on social media that are all very elite, like they shit on me in all their different areas. So I put up a video the other day of me doing a one-arm handstand. It's like about 17 seconds. It's my best one-arm handstand to date. And my coach sent back a video with a GIF attached to it. And it's me doing a one-arm handstand on the back of a bull that's like bucking. Because like my one-arm handstand is not straight or like super controlled as it should be. It's like really wobbly but it's still like...
you should be ashamed of that.
Yeah, but that's the thing.
One-arm handstand.
So if I jump up and do that in front of you guys are like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
That's hectic. But in front of these guys, they're like, he looks like he's doing it on the back of a bucking bull. Like, and they don't pay it at all. But it's like, it's the juxtaposition of like the two views.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with where it's at because I'm just going to keep doing it until, I find something else that catches my attention.
Look, honestly, you're probably like in the top 5% of humans on Earth that can do it.
Well, yeah. And it's one of those things that you have to remember too. Like, when I first started doing it, I couldn't balance on like one hand and one finger. And before that, I couldn't balance on two hands for more than 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's the journey that comes with it all. And like understanding that there is always someone better, but there's always someone that's looking up to you like you're doing a lot better. So
100%.
don't be a jerk and write off the achievements that you've gotten to.
My biggest achievement in yoga was when I did my first ever headstand. And I still remember it because it's a very like Zen environment. And I've got the headstand. It was ugly as shit getting up, and I just went, get some. Came to class undone, but that was my big like achievement.
That's what I love about yoga though, and like. It's always like my classroom was always so different to classrooms I went into, and the enjoyment behind it, like having a conversation with someone about how they can get into a pose differently rather than like the silence and the intimidation of like me just walking past and glaring at you because you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Like who learns from that?
Who enjoys that?
Yeah,
like, it doesn't sound fun at all.
No, it's not. It's not fun to teach that. Yeah. Like I like 90% of my class, like when I did my teacher training, it was quite funny. And I was shit at hand balancing then. Like I could do crow and a few other things, but I wasn't very, again, inverted commas, guys.
Yeah.
I wasn't very good at yoga. I was super inflexible, but I was strong enough to hold poses and shit like that. But when I taught my thing, the teachers were like, you need to interact with the class more. You need to go around and like watch. And I was like, I don't know how comfortable I feel about like going around and poking and prodding people. Like if I say, a pose and they don't know what it is, how are they going to, like, they've got to do that awkward look around and be like, shit, that guy's doing this and this guy's doing that. What the fuck am I supposed to do? So like, I never found that like, that sort of slow walk through the class, like my way of sort of teaching. It was more like demo and then look up to see how people are going and like give some cues and offer some advice. People are like, why are you talking during yoga? I'm like, I'm the teacher. I can do that one.
Yeah, I have that ability.
But
that's good.
It was always my greatest pleasure to like break that super silent sort of mentality that comes with a yoga class.
Yeah, because it's fun. Like you can smile and celebrate little victories in the class.
A little fist pump here and there. And
Yeah,
like
get
crumble to the floor and not care about like making a noise like a baby elephant.
I made one, like we were doing a flow and it was a really hard one, and then we went through she said 3 times and then she did it one more time and I went, get fucked. And I didn't realize I said it as loud as I did.
I love that shit. There should be more of it.
Yeah, that's it. Maybe we can have a no holds barred heavy metal yoga class for November where it's like,
I tell you what's fun is hip hop yoga.
Hip hop yoga, okay.
And especially like if you can get, there's this dude that plays like acoustic covers, And so there's so you know that song, I love bad bitches, that's my fucking problem.
Yeah.
There's an acoustic version of that. And it's like, it comes on, he's like, I love bad bitches, that's my fucking problem.
Oh,
And so it's like everyone just goes, what the fuck? It's the absolute best.
This is good. This is all good ideas.
Yeah.
'Cause so thanks so much for sharing with us, man. You know, we didn't even get too much into fatherhood. Like, how does that?
Yeah.
Like, new dad.
Do we have time?
Yeah, I don't know.
We've already cracked 50 minutes, which is
Look,
we'll have to bring you back on for a
people
fatherhood special.
will probably start to wind out about now, sick of hearing my voice.
we can definitely do a round 2. That's for sure.
I'd love to.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you want to get out for this podcast?
Look, I mean, I guess we've talked about the most important thing, and that's like a little bit of mental health and like, you know, knowing that there's drama happening in other people's lives and how easy it is to get into meditation, and the fact that we have an avenue for people if they ever do want to come talk. I think that's
massive. That's huge.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we want to sort of get out there as well. Leading into our Movember campaign this year, we sort of want to open our circle up and have the conversations. And it sounds like you're ahead of us already. You've started that, and you're
just a part of the
perfect
community.
place to go to for people to talk.
Yeah. So I mean, and we put those all over Facebook and social media. So I think we've got one scheduled in for early October.
This is the men's shed.
The men's shed, yeah. So if anyone's interested, just keep checking the socials, and it'll be up there for all the information and stuff.
So that's Ghetto Movement on Instagram and Facebook.
And then just Ghetto Movement. I was just going to say, if you guys are keen to do an event again at Ghetto, obviously we'd love to have you guys
100%.
in.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll definitely.
You'll be hearing from me, don't worry.
So before we finish, I like to finish each podcast with 3 questions.
Oh, perfect.
First,
it's like quick fire answers.
it's just quick answers, yeah.
Right.
So first question is, what's your favorite color?
Green.
Green. I like it.
You too, bro.
Yeah. Second question, and I know that you guys have referenced this in your podcast, but if you had 1 minute with an 18-year-old yourself, what would you say?
Just keep at it. Like this, just keep doing what you're doing. Make mistakes. Don't be afraid to fuck up.
Nice. Third and final question: what do we have to do to get you to sign up for Movember?
that means shave off and regrow.
What is it? An 8-year-old moustache?
We will say, if you're going to run events and stuff, we're like happy if you say I'm not doing the team.
So there's also another part to Movember. You can do the move challenge. So you can commit to 30 days of movement, however you want to specify.
Well, that's not really a challenge for me.
That's your everyday.
Yeah, that's oh shit. Look, I've actually thought about this a lot. I tell you what, on the way home, I'm gonna give my dad a call, who's also been growing his mo since he was 21.
Oh, right.
So it's kind of a little family tradition.
Yeah.
So now I feel bad. I don't want to break family tradition.
Well, look, I mean, it's a good cause though, right?
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest.
And I think Dad's referenced before, if someone could raise $100,000, he'd shave it off for charity.
Well, funnily enough, there was I think his name's Ray Gunston. He's the guy that came second last year in Movember. He pit me. Oh. And he works for the AFL. He's like a director there, and he's had a moustache for like 35 years. And he said, if I reach X amount of money, I think it was like, I don't know, 30,000 or something, I'll shave it off. And he ended up raising like, I don't know. I don't know the exact figures, but it was more than me, and I raised 30. Yeah. So, so that's what he did. So, pick a figure.
I'll have a chat to the old man. If we can sort out some kind of drive and get him involved, then I'll follow
This
suit.
could be big.
Yeah, sweet. We crack the bigger market.
How exciting.
And the boys all love Dad's mo too. He looks like a grey Murph Hughes.
Oh, we'll get that all over the socials too. We'll build that up if you commit.
If anyone can, it's you.
Stay tuned to see if the answer is next episode. It could be like, and anyway, Will's dad said no.
We had shirts made for nothing.
That would be so fucking fun.
Will, thanks so much for taking the time to come and chat to us and spread your good work.
Big fan of what you guys are doing and where this is all heading. I think it's a really great shift for community one, but also for like awareness for men's mental health, which is on the decline, unfortunately. But you guys are doing a great thing to make the awareness much bigger.
Yeah. And for the thousands of listeners that we have, I will be at the men's shed in October. Hopefully, and then I can sign autographs and stuff. So if you're not,
I've got to get the podcast out by then.
Pressure.
Yeah.
Thanks heaps, Will, for coming on.
No, absolute pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and share it with your friends. We'll be uploading weekly podcasts with a range of different guests. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the Chamberlain Movember Challenge.